All right, talking about a poor run.
Well.
Go on then.
This is the headline of the weekend, mate. This is the headline of the weekend. We talked last week after Spurs had got beaten 3-2 by Everton, 3-0 down after 45 minutes. And I remember saying to you, Rob...
I remember what you said.
They dare not lose next week.
I know.
They dare not lose next week.
Tottenham 1, Leicester City 2. Richarlison scores on 33. Jamie Vardy equalises on 46. This is just after half-time, 46th minute. And then a couple of minutes after that, Al Khanous, the bright, young 20-year-old attacking midfield player, scores on the 50th minute. Nightmare 5 minutes for Tottenham. They go behind to Leicester City 2-1. And the unthinkable happened. The unthinkable happened that Tottenham... with a couple of players back, we had Richarlison starting up front. You got a front three, by the way, of Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Heung-min Son.
Correct. And the midfield, by the way.
Bentancur, experienced international player, perhaps and Lucas Bergvall, who's done pretty well. Madison was not fit and available.
Let's match them up against what they were playing against. Winks and Samari and RU. You know, it's not like they're playing...
Robert Reed.
The top players.
Yeah.
Listen. First of all, let's get this out there. The injuries are hampering and are a problem to Spurs, the number of injuries. You made a good point about some of the injuries, the muscle injuries, and what is happening, what can be done. You just feel like that is something that needs addressing.
The club's got to address it.
There's no doubt that the number of injuries are affecting Spurs. So that's a given, right? We'll put that out.
Yep.
But based on that, based on what's left, based on situations, based on being 1-0 up at half-time against a Leicester team that have lost 7 on the bounce, you second
at home, 62,000 people in the...
5-minute spell. Leicester have got the tails up, have got a couple of goals, and all of a sudden it's all on you. That isn't good enough, Rob. The injuries I get. Other people have had injuries. We find a way. You have to the game management, the structure, the drive and desire, the lack of errors, the decision making. Porro and Bentancur getting caught on the right hand side. Yeah. Leicester win the ball and go. And those things, Rob, can be addressed. And they're not being addressed in a manner that the manager continued. Like after the game, he said, "Well, yeah, their goals were their goals," and almost like a bit dismissive.
Yeah, and also said multiple times they're giving all they can go.
Yeah, they're trying.
I got no complaints with the effort, the work ethic they're putting in. Yeah, okay, that's good, but there's other things that affect a game and results more than they're trying very, very hard. There's ways that you work as a team together. There's stuff that the manager insists on. There's things that the manager will put in the minds of the players before they go at half-time. Come on, boys, let's make sure we're nice and sharp, no mistakes. There wasn't really mistakes in the first half.
No,
it was kind of clean.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
And it wasn't amazingly silky football, but it was fairly clean, and they were getting the job done. So that comes down on him. The only thing, like, in terms of this tiredness, because we know they're in the semi-final of the League Cup, second leg coming up against Anfield in a couple of weeks. I think they are 6th place in the Europa League, so they're heading to the knockout stage. They're in the 4th round of the FA Cup. So there's stuff that's going on, but that also means there's a ton of games. Is there a cumulative effect of all these games? Because we can look at this 11 and say, that team shouldn't be losing to Leicester City. They shouldn't be, where are they? 15th in the league table. Or is it that these players will tire, even though they're some of the better players at the club, because they've got a game every few days? Europe game, weekend Premier League, League Cup goes again, another weekend, another Europa. I mean,
okay, I get it, Rob.
I'm just trying to give some more.
No, and it's a good point. It's a good point to make, and I get it, and I kind of feel like there's a mood around Spurs and the players. So today is an interesting one, and James Madison intrigues me at this football club because sometimes I can't understand why he isn't playing. He's on the bench, even against the bigger games, and he's had a little run of form.
Run recently.
He's had a little run, and then today we were told that sometime just before the game was announced or they picked the squad, that James Madison had picked a little something. He was tired from the rigours of the midweek game.
He hadn't recovered.
So he hadn't recovered. So he wasn't ready. He should be okay in the next week or two. Now, I would say, okay, that's fine. If, you don't want him to get another injury, so you're protecting him and protecting the squad and all that.
Starting,
I get that, Rob. I absolutely get that. And, Richarlison come off not happy because he's protecting him at a time. But let me get to my point is, we've seen Manchester City, and, okay, this is a year when it hasn't quite happened, playing 3 days, every 3 days on a regular basis, and the majority of players play all the games.
Yeah, tiny squad.
Liverpool FC have Mo Salah, mate, who plays every 3 games, rarely misses a game. Every 3 days, rarely misses a game, and continues to play. It's almost like there's a bit of a, we're Spurs players, and I'm a bit tired.
Does the intensity of the training and what is asked in the match make a difference? Liverpool, this season,
do a lot.
Everybody's it's more
controlled.
And resting. You can rest a little bit in the games. It's not quite so crazy. Where Spurs, I feel like when they're at their best, it really is kind of gung ho.
It was a bit Bielsa-esque when he was doing the thing, and then they were starting to pick up injuries in the same thing. And that's what I'm wondering: is that what's happening at Spurs? Because you should be able, Rob, a top-class professional footballer now should be able to play every 3 or 4 days.
I agree with you, by the way, but devil's advocate, is it a quicker game now than it ever was?
Of course it is.
The games are longer than they've ever been.
It is, but you still see a certain number of players who continue to be generally out there on a regular basis doing that.
I know. I'll tell you what you said last time, mate. I'm going to bring it up. You said if he loses to Leicester, he'll get fired.
He could get fired, and I still think that's the case. Certainly, even more so when the fans at the end were booing, obviously, what they saw, and then they turned their attention to Daniel Levy, because Daniel Levy doesn't like the spotlight on him.
Doesn't like the camera.
And there was a banner about 16 managers and 1 cup and all the rest of it, that they expect more. And sometimes to get him out there, the spotlight, he'll sack a manager. He sacked Jose Mourinho when they were in a League Cup final, and they haven't won a trophy. So he's a serial winner, and he sacked him. So I don't think that, and I know all the noise, and I know people are suggesting that
Ange's second season,
and it won't happen yet. If Daniel Levy thinks he can get another guy, and it's the best thing for the football club, he'll do it.
Yeah, now, I don't disagree with that.
I think he's okay for the time being. I think the cups have helped him. Being in 3 cup competitions, I think helped him.
You just said.
Yeah,
it's not maybe enough to say.
But I think
just don't know who else is there. Who else is there?
Based on the league position and the cups, I think he's safe for a couple of weeks. If they get done by Brentford, if they go crashing out of the League Cup, and another couple more results, he's gone. He's gone, man.
Because at that point, you got to be worried about their safety in the league, which is insane to talk about. I said today on air, it's an 8-point gap right now, right between the bottom 3 and Spurs. 8 points.
Yeah.
That's a good gap. If it starts getting less than 8. Right, and you start to get to 5s, that's alarm bells properly going off, and at that point, it looks like they're flat out on their feet. Looks like their football today was dire, and that's the biggest concern for me is their football's not there either, and that's been the same for a while. And I know the fullbacks aren't quite being so crazy with their football, the silkiness and the attacking and the entertainment has not been the same. They had all second half, Rob, to make something happen against Leicester City, who were ahead in the game and were sitting off the match. And Spurs, through the middle, couldn't find a way through. There was no kind of real stretching the opponents. That's what worries me more than anything else, about the injuries, about...
Well, because that's his thing, isn't it?
That's
what he should... That's what he's going to always go back to.
And the midfield players and the front players, who got a lot of the ball, they didn't really create anything, Rob. That's a bigger worry for me in terms of where it's going.
The biggest indictment for Spurs, and the biggest problem you have is you look at the table. It's a big sick club with the best stadium in the country,
62,000 people,
and they're 15th in the Premier League, Rob. They've just been beaten by Everton, who don't score goals, go 3-0 up. They've just been beaten by Leicester, who lost 7 straight goals on the bounce. I mean, where else are we going? They've lost 13 Premier League games, as many as Ipswich, who've just come out into the Premier League.
Well, it's 1 or 2 weeks. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a week by week.
If that 8-point gap gets to 5,
they get beat by Brentford, and Everton start picking up as we see with Moisey.
Yeah, you got Wolves then. I mean, Wolves they find a little bit of form. That's a proper. That's incredible. Can you imagine that?
To even say Spurs are in a relegation.
5th last year.
Yeah, 5th last year. 5 years ago, they were in the Champions League final against Liverpool. 5 years ago.
And finishing up, Rob, the last thing that this club wants to do is fire its manager. It's had so many kind of he's going to get the job done and get us over the line. And it hasn't worked out and they've had to make changes. They don't want to do it again. But if it becomes a situation where they're in a relegation fight and the confidence is down and they still get a ton of injuries more every week. By the way, it's every week there's more.
Yeah. And these players have got to get back and get fit, mate. It's not just getting back. So... That's just going to be an ongoing story, I think, for Tottenham Hotspur, Ange Postecoglou. Let's see how this one plays out.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.